Right, so good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Mechanics and Mysteries of Tribe Creation. And as we get through this short talk, we'll show you some of the mechanics on how to develop a tribe. And we use the word tribe because it's a collective noun for people who are following you as your NPO or your funders, your beneficiaries, all that sort of stuff. So we'll be able to sort of create that. So you define what your tribe is all about, and then you can apply these to that. Okay, so I think never before in recent history has there been a greater need for people to belong. We've been separated, we've been isolated, we've been segregated, and I think now in the virtual world and going forward as we see the world opening up here, we definitely need to belong to a certain thing. And what this does is it creates that ability to have people belong and belong to your cause, belong to your brand is absolutely critical, because otherwise if they don't belong to you, they might belong to somebody else, and that would mean that their monies and resources and efforts and energy might not come to you. So let's just unpack this. So what we want to do is take 2020 and instead of saying it's a write-off, but looking at it as an opportunity, because with a whole bunch of stuff that's happened this year, then we've got the new opportunity to explore and exploit these opportunities. So let's look at this. So two case studies that I want to use as an example that we've kind of honed our skills on is that on the 24th of March, we launched Noon Gun Gathering, which was a 1-hour Zoom session that happened every weekday at lunchtime, at noon. So we met at 12 o'clock until 1 o'clock, same time as this, and we met every single weekday and sometimes on the weekend, and we met for 43 consecutive weekdays. We were able to gather 602 people contact hours across those times, and we had a whole lot of outside speakers. And interesting, the fruit of that, we ran it until we went out of level 3 or went to level 3, then I stopped it. But out of that we had 12 new business ideas, 8 sustainable income activities, 3 new masterminds, and 7 income generating engagements, and most of those are still active today. And it's really interesting. I was just speaking to someone this morning that says, I can't believe I've just come from my 7:30 morning mastermind. And he says, it's really interesting. And I joined this group and I just smiled because I knew exactly where that came from. It's one of these little masterminds that came out of our Noon Gun Gathering. It was also really interesting. We can look at stats and the maths about it, but what it did is it brought people together in a very uncertain, trying time. And together we were able to build that confidence and tribe and family and develop very deep relationships with people during this time that kept us together, kept us focused, and kept us learning instead of falling into despair during the unknown times of the initial lockdown period. Another example is this, our NPO cloud. And this is a graph that I've taken straight off Facebook yesterday. And it just shows there the tribe that we've bought. So this is the membership of our Facebook group called NPO Cloud, which you guys are part of. And it's grown literally since April. We are now sitting at 793 members as of this morning, and it's just really been evident. And you can see the upper trends there. Depends on the activities. We've had a couple of plateaus, but not really plateaus. And of course the last hike there has been leading up to the Think Good conference that happened last week. So we had quite a lot of exposure with that, a lot of members and that. But in that that, we've also been hacked. So there was an incident earlier this week where we had a person come and invite a whole lot of people into this, and I think we had 40 odd people all wanting to join in one day, and I thought, if it's too good to be true, it's a scam. And so Michelle and myself looked at this, and clearly there were a couple of people on the thing that were trying to infiltrate our group there. So you don't always be ready to jump at an opportunity until you've just assessed it. It's also a time of huge scams and huge fraud, and who better to take advantage of than the soft kind-heartedness people of the NPOs. So we've got to be a little careful around that. But just proof that we are not just making the stuff up, that we've actually proved it, and we've been able to get ahead with where we're at. Okay, here's some information. 120 plus days of lockdown. I've lost count. The economy is slowly opening up. We've reached and overtaken the peak of infection, hopefully. We are in for a second wave, as we've seen around the world with countries who have opened up. So my prediction is that we will close down to level probably 3 or 4 sometime before the end of this year again for about a month as we overcome the second wave of infections. Hopefully not. Some countries have got through this okay, but there is going to be a second infection peak, and we've just got to be prepared for that. So all the smokers and the drinkers out there, go and buy your stock, because there is a good chance that they'll shut that down again in the near future for a while, but then reopen it up again towards the end of the year. So we've had an economic meltdown for a lot of places, failings of corporate to gather and sort out our staff, unemployment is up, and the government's in complete chaos with a lot of the stuff. So it was interesting. Yesterday I was just listening to a podcast. The South African government have done the best things in the world around the COVID. They've also done some of the worst things. So it's a very much a bipolar situation that we're in here. So they've done some of the best things, but they've also evidence of some of the worst things with the corruption and things that we've had to face. But this is not a political discussion. So how do we begin to build a community around our business or our organization that is profitable and sustainable? Let's start unpacking that. So I've got 12 things for you, and it'll be worthy just having a blank piece of paper, writing down these 12 things. The first things are the stages of development of a team or a tribe. And these been adapted from Bruce Tuckman from 1965, and with a first name like that, he must have been an awesome guy. So Bruce discovered and first put this out like 55 years ago, because that was the year I was born, and so clearly it was a good year, and he created the 6 stages of a team, and we've adapted that. So what he says is that the first thing you do is people join, okay? People join, and they begin to join and meet others. And if you think about some of the teams and the tribes you might have joined, you kind of, and you kind of sitting there looking at each other, sussing them out. And we see that even online, where everyone joins and they kind of looking around the screen and begin to categorize people, who's here, who's not here. Am I better than that one? Who's better than me? Who am I threatened? Who are my friends? And we kind of wave, and we slowly begin to join and form into a team. Then we get into that forming sort of stuff. Now we're having initial conversations, that first date experience with everyone else, like, oh, what's your name? Where are you from? How many kids have you got? Why are you here? What car do you drive? What sports team do you support? All that sort of chitter chatter, that first and second date stuff, as we get to know each other. And then slowly we begin to storming. So this is an interesting one. Once we know who we are up against, there's this little struggle for position. Now this is mostly very evident with men and more subtle with women. and I know that's a judgment on both sexes, so excuse me for that, but it's just an observation from my side. So there is a struggle for position, and it's position on either to get to the top, or you'll find often my story is better or worse than your story. And you'll see as people kind of do this is that someone will tell a story and, oh, that's nothing. You must hear my story. And with that, we are juggling for position in a hierarchy of that. It doesn't necessarily need a, I want to be leader or anything like that, but we're just summing people up. It's like kind of animals, head butting in the forest to find out, what's the order in the tribe. So we have a little bit of that, and that can happen in a couple of hours or a couple of years, depends on the size of the organization and the constitution of the group and who they consisting of. Then we get to this kind of time where it's called norming, and it's the acceptance of others. We've sussed each other out. We know where everybody is in the hierarchy. We know the people that are below us and equal to us and above us, and we've kind of put everybody in the category. We've put labels on everyone. Hopefully they don't see the labels that we call them, but we've accepted others. Now we can start working together, and it's an interesting point with that. Then we have the performing, and this is collaboration for the greater good, and this is where leadership comes into, and you'll see that you want to get from 1 to 5 as fast as possible by not forcing it, because if you force it, you actually make it happen over and over again, but you want to get your team to performing. And if you're a sports captain or a team captain or a manager or a politician, whatever it is that leadership place, you want your team to get to this collaboration where they can sit there and say, instead of what's in it for me, it's what can I contribute to the tribe for the greater good. So it's an output rather than a input. And then we get adjourning. Now, Bruce, the originator of this, he put this in there, and this is where the team breaks up and there's a sign of mourning, but we don't want that. We want reforming. So I've changed his thing here, and I'm going to say what we want to do is when we perform at level 5, we get to a point where we begin to plateau and the scale starts to fall down a little bit. What we want to do is we want to get there, and you've got to have the management skill to reform, and that's often the time where you want to implement, oh, let's have a expo, or let's have a special announcement, or let's have a launch of a new product, or let's have an AGM, and you want to get that reforming stuff. So you've got to time these things just as the curve starts to go down. You want to get that up and to be able to grow that again there. So key thing is the reforming process, where it's expansion and redefining and cementing the purpose of the group. So there we go, your first 6 stages of tribe development. Now what we want to do is we want to overlay that with 6 requirements for sustainability. And I've created these, all start with the same letter. Why? Because I can, and that's what I do. So the 6 requirements are going through and mapping these out against each of those, and you'll see how they form. So the first stage, and this is driven by the tribe owner or the tribe managers, okay, is you need some form of acceptance criteria. You cannot just build a tribe to say open for everybody. You've got to develop some form of acceptance criteria. So it's narrowing the gate to make it harder for people to come in and defining that. So all people who are ... may enter here. And that means that it becomes attractable to those type of people. So whether you're defining all people who have this disability or work in this sector or live in this area or of this gender or this age or a combination of all those, that's where you do that. So we have that as the mandate. So you've got to set up a mandate of your tribe, and that focuses on the entry criteria. Then you've got to have a list of activities. So these are the roles of leaders, who does what, whether you've got team leaders and you've got facilitators, you might have an exco group, you might have a lot of different activities. We meet weekly, we meet monthly, we've got online Zooms, on the weekend we go hiking, we've got all these different activities, online, offline, above the line, below the line, and all these things that are happening at the moment. So there's a whole hybrid of activities that are being defined. Once you list out that, and these are all what your tribe does with each other, then we are able to do that. And we call that quite simply the membership. And once we define what the membership is and what they do, then we're able to define exactly how we go about it. But now that we're doing what we're doing, we need some rules of engagement, because you cannot play a game unless there are rules, and not rules of legalistic yoking people, but rules of engagement that define the edges and the scope of that activity. So you want to know exactly where people are playing, what they're doing, and how to do that. And you can define it as a region, you can define it as times, you can define it with areas of hierarchy, different sectors, or whatever it is there with that. So you'll sit there and say, we are the Western Cape organization, therefore we are operating within the Western Cape, and we operate within this. So just defining those rules of engagement. If your rules of engagement are clear and communicated, people know how to play, and they have the freedom to operate within the boundaries of those rules. You don't want a tribe growing exponentially and then without that, because it's harder to hem people back in, because then they get offended. Okay, and you don't want to have to go down that road and say, actually, stop contacting people in, outside Africa, because our name is, oh, but I didn't know. And you often get that kind of ignorance is a problem, because people break those boundaries. So have a very clear set of rules of engagement around your tribe and let them know that, but without yoking them with a whole bunch of legalistic stuff that we don't operate under. So we call that the management of the tribe. Then we've got activities, traditions, and celebrations. Now, this is an interesting one, is that because one of the key things to sustainability and longevity is to have a number of events that have a little title in the beginning, like annual or monthly. And so if you've got a monthly meeting, it automatically, subconsciously tells the story of this organization's going to be around for months to come, because they have a monthly meeting. If you are lucky enough in your tribe to have an annual event, and we've seen some of these things, there's a couple of events that have automatic sustainability, like the cycle tour that we have here in Cape Town, the Two Oceans Marathon. They are just part of the Cape Town tradition. Why? Because they are annual events, and we know that every Easter weekend we have the Two Oceans. Every weekend somewhere in April we will have the cycle race, unless COVID comes around and spoils all that. But we know that even though we've skipped a year, next year everything will be around it, because it's an annual event. And being part of those events and being part of that tribe, that means even if I miss one, there's going to be another one next year. So that sustainability mindset is absolutely key. So I would really recommend that you look and you create a couple of activities or traditions and celebrations that have this annual thing. And you could link them around your AGM. You could link them around, we always have a festival. Remember the community chest, I think it was like a a fair or a fete or a carnival thing that we used to have here in Cape Town. Every year we had the community chest and we used to have the big walk, and we've got all these things, and they're run by organizations that have that sustainability mindset to say every year for the next 10 years we've secured a contract and we're going to run that day there. People belong to that, know that it's not just a hype thing that, oh, I'm going to be part of this and we're going to be going on from there. So you want people to be able to get going on that. Okay, so we've got to have activities, traditions, and celebrations, and we're going to call those memories, because one of the best things to do is create memories, because memories are there to be shared, and shared memories create loyalty, and loyalty creates referrals, and referrals creates growth within your tribe. So memories are absolutely critical, and you do that by creating those longevity events. Number 5, regular communication. Well, this is absolutely key. And I know we've had a number of talks, and there's a number of organizations that do this absolutely amazingly. Is regular communication means two things: regular and communication, and unpacking those as we look at that. What is your communication strategy? How do you do that? Is it social media? Is it regular newsletters? Is it magazines? Is it skywriting? Is it emails? Is it events, masterminds, masterclasses, webinars? You can go on and on and on, but absolutely key to get to a point that you've got regular and you communicate with it. There's 2 ways to kill a relationship, is that irregular and no communication. And if you implement irregular, no communication, it's simple, that relationship will wither and die, like taking water and sunlight from a plant. So be careful what you do there. So we've called that your magazine. What is your magazine strategy? And then we've got a sense of belonging that creates action. There is nothing more rewarding for people to be able to give. And it's interesting, you know, they always say it's more rewarding to give than receive. Now, it depends on where you are on the scale of, you know, needing, but it is very rewarding to be able to give. And one of the interesting things is that your tribe begins to definitely self-generate when they themselves are marketing your tribe, because they want for others what they have gotten out of being a member of your tribe. And that, when you get that sense of internal referrals and you get to that tipping point where you no longer have to drive membership, you just need to manage the process of membership, because it becomes self-growing, and that is manipulation. Now, I just want to pause here for a moment, because the word manipulation is taken so out of context, and it's seen often as a negative word, because we always say, I was manipulated, means it's a bad thing. But every time you sell, every time you have a discussion, whether it's what to have for supper or what clothes to wear or something, we manipulate our kids to get to school every day. We manipulate our spouses about food and about relational stuff and about holidays and about where to move the couch to around the lounge. Everything is a negotiation, and our selling techniques is a form of manipulation. So I want to say manipulation with love and kindness is part of what we do in a tribe, because tribal gatherings and tribal mindset is all about being manipulated within that tribe. So don't see manipulation as a bad thing, please. It is a good thing, because it's taking somebody from point A to point B through a process of leadership, conversion, selling. We've just called it manipulation, and it starts with an M. So we've got that. So there are your, we just want to admit some people. So there are your 6 mechanics and the requirements for sustainability. So what we've done is we've put all those into the model. Before we get to the model, here's some of the stuff that we do, and we're just going to jump to the next one that says these have all failed. I think the whole idea of having a mailing list as your only source of stuff, and you spam people on a regular basis, or using MailChimp, trying to use Facebook only, trying to use Instagram, trying to use LinkedIn, trying to use blogs and vlogs, and just putting all that together. I'll just go back so you can see there we are, bus hopping. How many times have you seen people want to get on your bus? And once you're successful, everybody wants to clamber on your bus, and oh, look, there's the latest shiny object, there's the latest thing there. What we're doing is we're saying that you've got to have a combination strategy. Don't put all your eggs into one basket. Don't create a sense of fulfillment under one thing. So we're saying that 2020 is time for a tribe revamp, a time to get going, a time to redevelop your following, your tribe, your cloud, your gatherings, or whatever you want to call them. It's time to get people together with a strategy. So here is our model that we've created, and it's called the Mechanics and Mysteries of Tribe Creation. And you can see that it's not a straight line. By no means is it a straight line. It's a very wiggly waggly line, and often you have to come back to the beginning to get forward. But we've identified key areas that we do in there, 4 different key areas of activities that you need to go and manage and develop your tribe through in order to make it happen. So the first part here is looking at the mandate and the membership in the joining phase, which flows into the forming part. We then develop the management strategies of the group through the forming and the storming part of the tribe creation. And then we look at making memories and developing your communication strategies and activities, and that gets people through the norming and performing part. And then the manipulation part at the top there helps you redefine your legacy strategies and your growth strategies and diversification goals at the top there. So we want to get to a point, and we do that, and that often goes right back to the beginning where we want people to rejoin again. So it's not a linear process, because people are always joining, and you are people at all stages of this in your tribe all the time, going through the different levels of activity as you get going. So here's a chance to revamp your tribe. So here's the upsell, and it's not often we have an upsell, but we've done this before. We've just finished a pilot program with a group of organizations, and every single one of them saw a significant growth in their tribe. There were 2 of them that had absolutely no tribe to start with at the beginning, and they were able to at least get their strategy together and start building their tribe. The others were already with a tribe, and they were redefining that, and have both seen significant growth in that. So we're ready to roll it out. We're ready to get there. So what we're offering you is a 4-week process, 2 hours per week, and we've got our next cohort starting on the 8th of September, which is 2 weeks time, and it'll run every Tuesday for 4 weeks between 10 and 12 in the morning while we're still fresh, and before lunch, before the kids come back home from school. Now, normally we would charge $3,700 for this, but we've got a special NPO rate of $1,850. So if you and your organization want to invest with us, we would love to hear from you, love to chat with you, and you can come and have a one-on-one chat with either Michelle or myself around this, and we'd love to have you on this program and work with you and your management team. That price is per organization, not per person, so you're able to send as many people from your organization as you want if you can. So Michelle will put the link in the chat box. Thank you, Michelle. And if you want to go, you can either pull out your phone and scan my QR code, or you want to type in that long code at the bottom, or you can just click on the chat. But it takes you to a page on our website called emsolutions.co.za/tribe-revamp. And go to that page, fill in your information. You can pay online. We're making it as seamless as possible and easier for you, and you can come and join us. And what we'll do over the 4 weeks, we'll take you through that model of the 4 different areas of revamping your tribe. Whether you're starting out from scratch or you've got 10,000 or more people in your tribe, it's time to revamp and retool and refocus your tribe to get them ready for the new age of this kind of whatever the future's going to hold. It's a kind of a mixture and a merge of different things, isn't it? And I think what we look into is to make your tribe more bulletproof and loyal, so their energies and their time and their money stay with you, and they're not coaxed to other people who are doing nicer things a lot better than you are. And we're going to then wrap that up. There's my email address if you want to get hold of me. It's bruce@em-solutions.coza, or you can contact me directly on my phone. WhatsApp is always better than anything else for me. It's 082-685-7133. Add me to your phone, WhatsApp me, ask me questions, come and engage with myself and Michelle, and we're happy to update your tribe.